on the battlefield. Yet, none could match him, and so he wandered the earth, becoming lost in time and tide. Then we too lost our honest purpose, while silk-clad men sat upon the throne. But tremble now, all cities that lay under the stars, for out of the shadows and mists of the land of promise, our courage has been rekindled, our heart has returned, and the world will burn.
Yeah, tell me more about my Apple services. Yeah, I definitely want to order that stuff from China. Oh, sorry, I gotta go. Hey, RJ, this is you here? You hear a name only? RJ's having some difficulties. Apparently, all the wildfires have destroyed all the Bigfoot nests over there in Alberta. So RJ's the tree that he plugs into for internet service is damaged beyond recognition. So he's been coming in and out. Are you okay, RJ?
How's that? You can hear me now?
You're perfect now. You're
Great.
perfect.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Are you affected by the wildfires or anything?
Us? No. This is the first year in like 3 years we had a perfect summer. No smoke or anything. Like it was like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah,
Not
it's 'cause
summer, right?
it's all coming here. Yeah. I mean, it makes for a beautiful sunset, but, and it smells like my grandfather's house. My grandfather always burned in wood, so I get a little beautiful sunset and nostalgia. I guess your whole country could go down in flames. Makes me miss my pop.
It reminds me of the end of the very last book of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where the idiots took over the Earth because they crash landed on it from another planet. They were expelled as idiots, and they crash landed on Earth. They're our ancestors, right? They go back in time, and they started burning down all the forests. So it's smoke. They can see it in the distance. The burning trees. It's one of the last lines in the book. So yeah, we kind of live in that today, don't we?
Idiocracy and the Idiots. I only read the first book of Hitchhiker's Guide, and I gotta say, very rarely have I been like laughing out loud from reading a book. And then I watched the movie, and I lasted about 5 minutes before I turned it off.
Yeah, that was awful. There's a really good radio play that they did in the early 80s, might be late 70s, I think it was early 80s for BBC.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I don't know. I think I'll stick with the book. The book is really good, and so many quotes from it, that I didn't know about for so long. Always bring a towel. Don't panic.
Don't panic, yes. Don't panic. Definitely not.
And I had to I had to change a story because I had a story of science fiction story, and I didn't know this because I wrote it before I did the Hitchhiker's Guide, but it was a probability drive. But it just worked. It was kind of like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So like, as long as you didn't know where you're going, you could go really fast. But once you knew where you know what I mean, that was the joke. And then, I sent it to an artist. He goes, "You can't have a probability drive." I was like, "Why?" He's like, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's been so long ago I wrote this, I forgot." Yeah, okay, we'll change it. It's no big deal. Yeah. So I'll call it the uncertainty drive. That's
there you go.
yeah. So that's actually fits the story now that I think about it.
I don't know, John. You at the very least you're being more creative than Marvel.
Well, our two adversary. Like every once in a while you find out that you can't do something the way you wanted to, and it forces you to come up with something better. I don't know about you, but I like distractions when I'm writing. I'll be writing and I just get so focused. And then like my wife's like, "Take out the garbage." And then I come down and I read it again. I'm like, this was going nowhere. You know what I mean? Like you get that tunnel vision.
Oh yeah.
You look at it and then, so I don't know. Or you get frustrated, you put something away, then 4 months later you look at it, you're like, this is pretty good. I can finish this. But you put it away because you were frustrated.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just getting back to it now, because we have Scrum the Destroyer on track now. Colorist is working. Inker's already well into book 2, so he's giving me a page a day, so we're doing great.
Nice. That's so good. That's so much fun to see your stuff. Can I show off a page?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've been showing it. You probably saw it already if you're on Twitter, but look at this page. Look at this page. Look at that page. I love this. It's Captain Atlas fighting the World Breaker. This is a splash page from Patriarch number 1. Captain Atlas is the Patriarch's hero. So even heroes have heroes. And they're talking about, what was your most dangerous fight? And they're going over this Patriarch. It's me retelling Superman versus Doomsday kind of thing. I love that. That now Steven Silhouette says, now that's a punch in the face. He's been busting my chops because he thinks the public eye has the most punchable mask in the world. Did I lose you, RJ?
Nope, I'm here. I'm just looking at the picture. I think this is what John would look like if he shaved his beard. There you go.
What, horns? Purple and horns?
No, the Captain Atlas there. You're Captain Atlas, John.
That is definitely not my self-insert.
See, look, he just takes the glasses off and all of this is what he becomes. Yeah. Right?
I wish. Captain Atlas. He is by far my most overpowered character. And like I said, I have a solo story planned for him. And you're gonna realize, as powerful as he is, you don't want to be him. I love that. Like, so he's like an homage to a DC character, but with a Marvel weakness. And you could help me out by backing on Fund My Comic. I got the Christmas special. I was just talking to Bill. It's lettered. The letters pages out. He's building the digital copy right now. So I might even start sending out the digital copies for people who got it on Fund My Comic. Get that over with. And then Zaid Comics is going to be printing it. So we're going to be talking to Zaid Comics about exactly what they need. And it's going to be on newsprint. I'm so excited. And if you'd really help me out, I need $99 more to hit the funding goal on Kickstarter. I'm going to be sending out the physical comics at the same time, Kickstarter and Fund My Comic. I wanted to do Fund My Comic first, but Comics Wellspring closed down, and I hooked up with the Diaz brothers, Zaid Comics, but I'm on the list. You know what I mean? So they said that it'll be printed end of August, early September. So
just let everybody know, I was a little iffy about this John Longbox character, whether or not I should order a book, but I finally got around to it. I ordered my copy of Christmas Special last week.
There you go. You're going to learn Christmas magic. You're going to learn some special magic stuff about Christmas. Yeah. And I just read that people who drink 4 to 5 cups of coffee have less diabetes and heart problems. I'm going to live forever, 80. You're stuck with me, people. My wife was just like, oh, man, even with sugar and half, I was like, shh, we don't talk about that. Is Atlas going to shrug? Let me ask you, people, wonderful people in comic book land, RJ, when a superhero is named Captain, what does that evoke to you?
First Captain that comes to my mind if you're going superhero characters is obviously Captain America.
Correct.
I don't know what else. Secondly comes to mind.
I don't know if like Captain Atlas, like, yes, he's an Air Force captain, so that's why he became Captain Atlas. He originally called himself Atlas, but other people said, "Oh, Captain Atlas," and it stuck. So, like, whatever, to me, a superhero who goes by Captain, either two things: either he is military as part of his backstory, or he's got delusions of grandeur. So I could see like I don't know, Captain Amazing. He's just like a lunatic. You know what I mean? That's me. That's the way I think. So like if you ever see in my world, either the guy's a lunatic or he's a military guy who somehow got powers. I don't know. Best news this week: 5 cups of coffee a day. Yeah, Pete, are you another big coffee guy? Pete's my buddy. Just when we reconnected, he moved. That seems to be a pattern in my life. Hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in 20 years. Oh yeah, well, I'm moving now. Okay. So whenever I reconnect with old friends, they get up and leave. So I set my comic book store near him in Arizona. There you go, Pete. You can't get rid of me. Yeah, Unicorn Ultra Quest says, yes. If anybody has backed The Man with No Strings by Zade Comics, the Diaz brothers, it's going to be printed like that. So let's hope. I mean, hasn't been printed yet, but that's the plan right now. I will be visiting New York in fall. Let's talk. Cool. I'll see you this fall. Coming down for a game night. I might have a copy of Lords of Vegas for you. Newsprint is nice and seems appropriate for what Longbox. Well, thank you, Steven. That's the nicest thing you said without throwing punches at one of my characters. I'm in Gilbert. What does that mean? Does Gilbert know that you're in him? Did you get permission? What does that mean? Is Gilbert a town? Or Gilbert, Arizona? So, okay.
I'm glad that John has named his character Captain Atlas because, my military character is Major Mystery. So he'll outrank Captain Atlas. So, just to let you know, be able to order him around.
Yeah, was he in the Air Force? Because if he's like a Marine, he's going to goof on the Air Force people. All right. My buddy, when I worked in the bar, all the bouncers were Marines, and that's what they told me. They're like, we goof on the Air Force people, but I didn't get it because I wasn't military, and I was just like, but they're all military, and he's like, yeah, some are more military than others.
The Chair Force, yes, don't want to be part of the Chair Force.
The Chair Force. Oh, Gilbert, Arizona. That's right. The guy who owns Villains Vigilantes in Gilbert, Arizona. That's right. Because Pete, I forget. Did you actually put my letter in his mailbox, or did I mail it to him? Because I remember I was having a difficult time getting in contact with the man that owned Villains Vigilantes because I wanted to know if he would mind if I used the Villains Vigilantes logo on the back of my cards. So like if you buy my cards. Like here's the Subterranean on the front, beautiful art by Renzo and Oscar, and then on the back is the character sheet for Villains Vigilantes. So if you ever buy a copy of Villains Vigilantes, you could use these cards as character sheets. Yeah, I know it looks like the 80s. That's the point. A couple of people busted my graphic designer's chops, but he did exactly what I asked him to do. So I couldn't get in touch with him. The guy wasn't answering his phone. He wasn't answering mail. He wasn't answering email. And Pete said, oh, yeah, Gilbert is right next to me. Give me his address. I'll put the letter in his mail. I forget if I took you up on that. No, I'm not your mailman. Okay. So maybe he responded before. I forget. A lot of good comic shops in Arizona. When I lived in Albuquerque, it was amazing how many comic book stores there were in Albuquerque. I used to do on a Sunday, like every couple of weeks. Just I'd wake up and then just drive to all the different comic book stores on Sundays. You'd stop and get some local Mexican food and go to the comics. I used to love that. And it took all day because Albuquerque and Rio Rancho, the town next to it, it's sprawling. Like there's not a lot of people, but everybody has a lot of space.
And then they kicked John out because he had Mexican food all over his hands and he was slobbering it all over the comics.
Oh yeah. No, it's funny because like I would have like napkins and set the comic book up, and most of the people thought I was a lunatic. It's kind of funny. Rear Admiral. Oh, what would be a good superhero name? Real Admiral. I don't know. Real Admiral Backdraft. Nobody takes me serious, by golly. Yeah, Rear Admiral America. Superhero names nobody takes seriously. Like, it was funny because every once in a while I have a joke. I want to make up a superhero called the American Standard, and every time he shouts his name, everybody giggles because that's the name of the toilet company. I am the American Standard, and everybody's like, why does everybody laugh? Like he just doesn't know. He just doesn't. Real Admiral Rebecca. Yeah. All right. I keep interrupting. What do you want to talk about? Do you have a topic today?
I do not, John. I've been, as people will probably learn in my Saturday video if you watch my channel, I've been traveling for the last, 4 days. I literally just got home half an hour ago, spending the entire day in the car driving. So,
traveling for work or traveling for pleasure?
Pleasure. It was an unexpected trip. Someone canceled their plans, but things were already paid for. So it was like, you want to come? I was like, yeah, sure.
Oh, that is great. That is great. Wait, do you mind telling where you went?
Just up and down the East Coast. So just to let you know, that's about all I can say.
Okay, cool. Bigfoot doesn't like to give his location, so he's got to stay blurry. Yeah. Got to stay, can't let people know exactly where Bigfoot is striding. So if you're in North Carolina and you found a footprint in your backyard, RJ was there. That's good.
That's funny enough, John. I haven't been to North Carolina since last time I was at Fort Bragg. But hey, just like.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm on vacation the entire month of August, and I'm going to do my first convention at Tropicon in Long Island. It's in Hauppauge. The 14th and 15th, the weekend. I'm going to be tabling with Von Coleman, Phenomenova, Rebel Oasis Comics. So I'm kind of nervous. I haven't done it before. I know me. I know I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm going to make 100 new friends and forget to sell comics to them. I always have a hard time pushing. You know what I mean? I feel bad, but that's kind of what you got to do at a convention. So I'm going to be bringing my T-shirts, my comics, my hoodies. Bad time of year to sell hoodies, but I hope I sell some. And maybe my Mary Sue water bottles. I don't know. But, if anybody's on Long Island, 1450, come on down and see. If you watch the channel, we'll try to do something for you. Maybe give you a card or something.
I can't for the life of me remember everybody's name. For the life of me, I can never remember anybody's name. But the guy that you're sharing the table with, is that the fella who basically just grabs everybody that's walking by? He's like, and just talks their ear off. I can't remember. We interviewed a guy like that.
There's a guy called Paul Thayer who does Project Analysis. That guy can sell water to Aquaman.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking of.
I think he might be there because that guy is that's his full-time job is writing comics and then going to conventions. That he literally pays for his mortgage and pays for food for his wife and kid. That guy is amazing. I could learn a thing or two from him. He puts out his comics consistently. He doesn't fight with anybody. He's the real deal. He's doing the right thing. Vaughn is right there next to him. I don't know if Vaughn is as good in-person salesman as Paul, but Paul's excited about his comic and it's a good comic. So that's half the battle, So I got to start somewhere because let me ask you, RJ. I'm noticing myself and everybody, and I'm not like trying to start any drama, but I noticed that online crowdfunding comic book sales are going down. A couple of people who literally made over $100,000 on issue 1 of their comic are doing $4,000 for issue 2. My first comic did almost $10,000. My second comic did about $6,000, and now this one only did 3 so far. So, I mean, are people tired of crowdfunding? Is it the economy? Did the infighting chase people away? So I think it's time to pivot to well, I always wanted to do convention, but I kind of have to do conventions if I want to keep doing this. What do you think? What is the crowd think?
It's a combination of all three, but I think honestly the bubble has burst, so you're not going to get those numbers ever again.
Yeah, I mean, back with the big numbers, I think everybody was sitting at home. I don't buy the COVID number, because who really had extra money during COVID? Like I was working. I didn't have, like, everybody was out of work. Like, who was getting extra money during COVID? Who was getting paid? I mean, I know everybody got like a $2,000 check. I got it too, but I don't. Everybody says the COVID money. If there was COVID money and nobody told me, I'm going to be pissed.
No, I don't think it was that, because my stuff came out before that. The first Valiant Heroes we made close to 80,000, and that was before that. So it was people looking for alternative media and alternative forms of entertainment.
Do you think Marvel's getting better again, so people are pivoting back?
I don't think so, quite honestly. If you listen to Thinking Critical, he's basically saying that it's DC that's pulling the weight right now.
Right? Yeah, DC's doing better, not Marvel. Yes, I don't read either, so I'll take other people's word for it. I know the Absolute line is probably keeping comic book stores in business. I would love to go there. For some reason, everybody thought that I was going to that last Texas convention where Ripper was there, and they made a banner and they included the Patriarch in the banner and everything like that. And then people were like, "Oh, you're not going?" I was like, "I never said I was going." But now I felt really bad, because everybody was like, "Oh, John's Longbox coming," and they started like talking about like, "Oh, we're all gonna meet." I was like, "Oh man." So I don't know. I think for that to have been my first convention, I think it would have been overwhelming and expensive. So I'm starting local, small, and we'll see how it goes. Splitting the table fees with. I hate to sound like a guy concerned about money, but the comic book money has to generate its own. I laid out money for the first issue. Everything else has to. I don't mind laying out a little bit of money, but I can't lay out the first issue money over and over and over and over again. So the comic books got to pay for themselves. It sounds stupid to say, but I don't care if they make a profit or anything. I just want to be able to make more comics, which is appropriate of nothing. I don't think J.R.R. Martin is an artist, and here's why. If you're an artist, you make your art. J.K. Rowling was making those Harry Potter books by hook or by crook. Tolkien spent 50 years laboring over his books and put them out. George R. Martin get distracted and he's doing other stuff. Like I'm like getting depressed. I want to make at least 10 books. I want to make at least 10 books, and I'm getting depressed. You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't happen, I'm going to feel like a failure. I want, you know what I mean? I'm thinking maybe I'll put scripts online and see if people want to read scripts and stuff like that. I don't know, but like, by hook or crook, I want to do these 10 books at least. And the fact that J.R. Martin, or whatever his name is puts out 5 books and then just piddles away his time, it really makes me wonder if he's committed to his art. But anyway, that has nothing to do with nothing. RJ, are you ever thinking of doing conventions?
Eventually, I would like to do them, but I have like the amount of time that I can get off right now is not conducive to me flying all over the country, and I would have to fly or take 2 days to drive or stuff like that. I am in the middle of nowhere. Just to let you know.
Well, if you ever want to do Long Island, you could come out to my house. You know what I mean? I live right by MacArthur Airport. If that means anything, you can fly there. I can come pick you up, and you know what I mean, and table together. You could wear a big mask, dress up like Chewbacca, and I'll dress up like Han Solo. So
They probably put me in the cargo hold, right, John? So
yeah.
with the
Well,
animals and
just if you ever want to, if it's something to think about, if make it cheap and easy, you just fly to MacArthur. I'll come get you. We table a booth together. That would be fun. My wife keeps saying it's too bad you don't live too close.
we live close enough. It's just if I had the time,
I keep saying don't kid yourself. RJ lives like 4 houses away. He just pretends it's far away. She doesn't want me knocking on his door. I think the biggest problem with crowdfunding is the lack of momentum. I agree. If it takes too long between issues, right? I got guys that I literally am no longer interested in their comics anymore. Some guys like they're making excuses and they're doing other things, and you see them doing all this other stuff, and you're like, dude, I paid for this comic 5 years ago. Where is it? That I think is indefensible. But like some people had hardships, and some people, I don't know, some people just disappeared. And I've got people that still to this day said, I buy your comics after they get delivered. I like you. I like what you're doing, but I've been burnt too many times. And there's no defense against that. They're absolutely right. So I'm trying to just have a good reputation. That's my it's my solution to it. It's like watching a TV show where episodes are released 2-3 a year. Then yeah, I agree. Like 3 years between seasons, I don't care anymore. Maybe the kind of stories people are looking for. I don't know. These are all good ideas. Tony Grigo, what are you going to do the Albuquerque? I would love to. Me and my wife are dying to go to Albuquerque because she follows the Frontier Diner, and every time that cinnamon roll comes up, she's like, John, we got to go to Albuquerque. And what I want is I want a green chili cheeseburger. I want the Frontier burrito, and I want a stack of the Frontier tortillas that they make fresh. I used to get that all the time when I lived out there. Now that I made everybody hungry, money is nice, especially for car repairs. Oh, who wants to hear? This guy's not going to be listening. But so at my job, I wake up early because if I wake up at my normal time and drive to work, there may not be a parking spot. Then I have to pay for parking, and paying for parking just calls me. It's the most difficult thing in the world for me to do. Pay to park. But it's only $6 to pay to park, so I'm being a cheapskate. But so I wake up a half hour early, I get to work, and then literally I have 45 minutes, and I take a nap in my car. So it's just a big muddy parking lot. And for a year, it's been we do 2 lines over here, and we do 2 lines over here, so that people could get in and out. Now people fill it in that space. So yesterday I went to my car. I was boxed in. There was a car in front of me. There was a car behind me. I couldn't get out. The car in front of me, he just had to go forward into the road. You know what I mean? And I pulled behind him, and then I just backed out. You know what I mean? That's the way it's normally. I'm like, well, how is somebody parking behind me? There's no phone number, nothing. So I let all the air out of all 4 of his tires. So I let all the air out of his tires, and that way, there's no way that's a coincidence. This guy knows that's a message. All 4 flats, and then I'm sitting there. The person who parked over here finally showed up, and it was a woman, and she pulled out. So I was able to do this and get out. So I was prepared to wait there and fight. It's the construction, so odds are he was bigger than me. But dude, and anybody who blocks me in, I'm letting all the air out of your tires.
I was just telling a story like this to somebody about a week ago. This would happen. Something kind of similar happened to me at one point, and basically I got blocked in, but I was parallel parked. Right, they were just too close to me, and then so the lady was screaming at me, "You're hitting that car behind you! You're hitting that car behind you!" I'm like, I stuck my head out and said, "They're called bumpers for a reason." I just pushed him back, and then went out. We lost your signal there, John.
I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my mic just went dead. I started to talk, and I realized my mic went dead. It happens every once. I must have hit something. It's man. Another thing is to get to where we park. We drive it in an industrial area, and there's one road in and one road out. Sometimes big trucks come. It's a construction site, and so somebody drove all the way there, and then there's a big truck. And there's people behind him. So he decided he's going to drive around the truck, but there's other trucks in front of the truck. So the guy went to back up and hit another car. I was like, oh, that's what I saw go to work. I'm not superstitious, but if I see a car accident, it ruins my day. Oh my, that sound. Ever since I got into my car accident, I get like, you know what I mean? I almost hyperventilate when I hear that crunching sound. Oh, it is the most dreaded sound in the world. Being a real artist requires discipline. Absolutely. I'm not the most disciplined person. I was just talking to Bill Williams today. Bill Williams is the creator of Punchline, a comic that I have a story in. He's about to launch his campaign, so check that out. I will be promoting that. But he says he was all snappy, and I said, am I pissing you off? He goes, no, not you. He goes, I got a bunch of clients. He goes, you work so far ahead. I never feel pressured, but other people wait till the last minute. So that made me feel good. This was twice that he when he gave me a deadline for a story, I was done way early with my 12-page story for him, because I didn't want it to impact what I was doing. So I'm like, just got to work ahead of time. It's just plan. And I don't even think I'm disciplined. You know?
You just gave me a good idea, though, John, when you're talking about the car accident. So one of the things you should do, I should do this too, but I'm sure there's like, I don't know, like the Mythbusters and things like that. When you see they do things like crash cars into stuff and all that kind of stuff, you should. I should really go over there and listen to the sounds in order to amp up my use of sound effects. Because I remember one time I lived on the corner of a street in a building. It was just like on the third, fourth floor of this building. Right, it was right on a corner, and somebody right outside the window got T-boned, and I mean just T-boned straight, and it sounded like a bomb going off. Right. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like an explosion. So I'm thinking to myself, I should go and listen to, when these guys go and crash things and get some better ideas for sound effects.
Yeah. I just don't play that around me, man. Just hear the car. I'm not going to embarrass this person because he was being nice, but he sent me like we were talking, we had a live talk, and I said about how like every once in a while I'll be driving and all of a sudden I'll panic. Ever since my car accident. If those of you don't know what I'm talking about, almost 2 years ago today, I broke my neck in a car accident, and I had to wear a neck brace. And luckily I avoided physical therapy and surgery. My doctor says I healed wondrously to the point.
He had to shave the beard. Everyone, just let you. He had to shave the beard.
Brace. It was driving me. I had to shave the beard. I couldn't have the beard and the neck brace. But the doctor said it was a miracle. She said it was so bad she didn't want to do surgery, and at any minute a piece could break. She goes, look, instant death, or you're paralyzed. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God. And now the last doctor who saw me told me I never broke my neck. That's how well I healed. So anyway, sometimes when I'm driving, all of a sudden I'll think of it and I'll freak out for a second. So when I was telling that story, again, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody. He sent me all these PTSD links and videos and stuff. He goes, I'm a therapist in real life. And I'm like, therapy's for pussies. I don't I'm just gonna make comic books and eat more potato chips, just not think about it, right? No thank you with your therapy. And I know you mean well. And if you're watching this, I hope you're laughing.
I'm just picturing John. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong, John, but if you said to your father, I'm going to therapy, you're going where? You're going where?
If I said to my father I was going to therapy, he would say, what size dress do you want when you go? What size dress are you going to wear to therapy? and the funny thing is, my brother-in-law broke his neck and he had to go to physical therapy. He went once. He goes, John, it was just the insurance company scamming me. He goes, there's like 30 people in a room and the person comes around and because they don't do nothing. He goes, he thought it was going to be like you one-on-one with the therapist and everything. So when I told him I didn't have to go to therapy, he was like, it's a waste of time anyway. It's funny how I know somebody. I know a couple of people who broke their neck. Tony, I didn't mean to skip over your comment. You should release some of your older issues online for people to read. I will do that after. I'm going to make a trade paperback for issue. When Heroic Tales 3 is done, I want to make like a collection because that's 120 pages. because 348-page books, that's 120 pages, and then I'll do that, and then after that, then I'll put it, free online. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. George R. wrote himself to a bind. He wants to subvert the traditional fantasy genre, but he got stuck on how to do it. He's taking the coward's way out. Yeah, the rumor is that the books will all be released after he's dead, so he doesn't have to hear the criticism. That's how RJ likes him, cheap and easy. Ben Sabar says, greetings, RJ in the chat. Everybody's, hey, Matt, where's the team up? Me and RJ, the team up. Matt, you can come in if you want. You want to come in, Matt? I love Matt's art. Matt drew me in as a taxi driver for Rock and Roll Ninja 2. I can't wait to see what Matt thinks I look like. Good thing you didn't catch. I was all prepared. I was all like stubborn, like this, and odds are it was probably a guy bigger than me. You know what I mean? Because it's a construction worker. I'm not the biggest construction worker, but yes, essence of discipline is remember what you want. Yeah, discipline is freedom. If you tell yourself like I want to put $100 a week away for a rainy day, and you actually do it, that's discipline. And then you have the freedom of after a year you have $5,000. You know what I mean? It sounds counterintuitive, but discipline is the freedom to do the thing. Like you say, I want to wake up Sunday morning and I want to do this, and then you actually do it. Because the opposite of discipline is progressivism, where you're just a slave to your desires. RJ, how's that for bringing it to your favorite topic?
There we go.
And that's right. Progressivism is slavery. It really is. You're just a slave to your desires. You're a slave to whatever. Love is love. Love is not. So you're just a slave to whatever sexual urges you have. Or I'm healthy at any size. Now you're just a slave to ice cream and candy and, diabetes. What do you think of that?
I think you're absolutely right. That's what I'm always talking about. The vice, you're either going to be a servant of virtue or vice. One is lighter than the other. And you choose vice, you're just putting a heavier burden on yourself, and you're choosing to do so.
I do. And the thing that gets me is, these people know they're wrong. Lizzo knows that she was a fat slob. Lizzo knows that she wasn't healthy. Otherwise, she wouldn't be dieting. The other one that sings that the bass, not the treble, Morgan Trainer. She's another one. She was one of these healthy at any size. Look at me, I'm thick. And boom! As soon as Ozempic came out, they were chugging that. They were chugging it like M&Ms. The essence of discipline was coordinated and sustained rage. I don't know about that. I think discipline, quiet discipline. I think that's just cool. And when I say I have discipline, I have my toe in the water of discipline. Ask my wife; she'll tell you I'm disorganized. In the middle of doing something, I remember something else and veer off. But like my comics coming out on time, you know what I mean? Because my online reputation is important to me. Yeah, I fought with people. I got my haters. I made mistakes. I regret a lot of things, but I like to think I learn from every mistake that I make. Hey Rex, how you doing? Don't apologize. You're like a wizard. You hear just when you're here. Harness rage can fuel rockets. RJ, are you going to do a review of the Odyssey?
I am not going to do a review of the Odyssey. I think we'll say next Saturday's video is going to be Odyssey adjacent, as in we're going to talk about mythology and history and things like that, and why certain people feel a need to corrupt stories like the Odyssey. But I am not spending my money. I don't care if that lady who wrote the woke version of the Odyssey ever gets any money from the movie. I'm not going to support anything that she has created. I'm sorry, I'm just not doing it. That's my discipline and my principle, not doing it. But you'll hear more about that probably on Saturday, unless something spectacular happens that I need to talk about.
If anybody noticed, this is the most I'm talking about the Odyssey movie. I am of the opinion, don't give anything any time of stuff that you don't like. Talking about the Odyssey or talking about Comicsgate or talking about all that stuff is giving them, I hate to say a platform, but I can't think of any other word, but you just give it a free publicity, and Streisand effect. So the Odyssey, first off, I don't care if they're not Greek actors. They're actors. What you got to do is you got to look the part. And as long as you look the part, I don't care if you're Polish, I don't care if you're Lithuanian, and I don't care if you're Mayan. If you look the part and you can pull it off, that's fine. I mean, they're actors. No, it's so stupid that you got to have all the Greeks playing Greeks in the Odyssey. But I understand what people are saying because they, this every other movie, like you got to be cultural representative and you got to put so. The rules apply whenever it's a left-wing movie. You gotta tick all the boxes. But when it's a movie that the European then we could cast black people and whatever and Martians to play these characters. To me, it's a stupid argument. Actors can play anything as long as you're good. Just like a writer could write about any culture they want, provided they give it the respect that it deserves. My writing teacher in college was from Mexico, and he wrote novels set in 1800 Ireland. That's what he liked, and nobody bust his chops. And his wife, who was Irish, wrote about Mexico. That's how they met each other, cross interest. They were a cool couple. I really liked it. But
if you can go back to almost the first of I think it's 2018, 2019, you'll see videos where I'm ridiculing Marvel for casting cartoon characters. They had to be the exact race and gender and ethnicity as their counterparts that they were voicing, and I just made fun of it severely.
Right,
so.
It's so stupid. Hank Azaria could be Abu. Does he have the voice right? Does he make the character funny? Who gives a crap? It's first off for cartoon characters, it's the stupidest things. We have a female playing Bart Simpson. Who gives a crap? All that matters is does it work for his voice acting, and then but acting. So I don't care about the cast. Well, I care about the casting because they went out of the way to cast people who don't fit the part.
Exactly.
That's what bothers me. I don't give a crap.
Deconstruction by another means.
Right. I don't give a crap about. I can't pronounce her name. Lupita Nyong'o's race or whatever. She's just not the part for her Helen of Troy. She's probably a nice woman, just like Idris Elba is not Heimdall. I like him. And he at least had the wherewithal to say, I could see why people were upset with my casting. He goes, I'm not going to turn down a role that has such a spotlight like that. And I don't blame him. But at least he had the self-awareness to understand why some people would be upset, which made, But if somebody cast me to be Helen of Troy and paid me that money, I'm playing Helen of Troy. You know what I mean? I don't blame the actors. I blame the producers, the directors, the money behind it. But it just looked like Ellen Page is in it. This person who screams, "I need help." I mean, Ellen Page, she or Elliot Page, whatever. I'll call her Elliot. Names don't bother me. Call yourself whatever you want. But you're not a man. You're not a man. And why did this? I thought this beautiful girl went through. Something happened to her. She was abused. She got Harvey Weinstein or something, and she's screaming in pain. And these people let her mutilate her body, and she is now a substandard man. She is now like that guy that got basketballs thrown at him in gym class because he couldn't climb the rope. You know what I mean? That's what you want to be in your life. I can almost see these women's points if they went through the surgery and they were like Arnold Schwarzenegger's, you know what I mean? And they became like alpha males and, oh my God, this guy's so freaking cool. But this 4'11" nothing, cute girl, not nothing, went through this horrible process and is now the kind of guy that other guys put their underwear over their head and give them swirlies. You know what I mean? This ain't solving your problems there, lady.
You bring up a good point, John. I'm just wondering about the the only time I saw, I think it was wasn't really an interview, but any kind of interaction with, I think it was Mags of Saggio. I think it was at one of the Writers Guild of America panels that I covered, and I said to myself, that's a person who's screaming for help. That's a person who has problems, and probably because of that and is not getting the help, doesn't have long for this world. And I'm just thinking to myself right now, that's an unfortunate thing that I think is going to come to pass within not just comics, but a lot of entertainment industry, is the fact that these people are going to start dying like in bunches really soon because they mistreat themselves and they mistreat their bodies and they have no way to actually get any kind of mental health, and
Well,
there's
you
going to be
just
large
watched.
gaps in everything.
I'm seeing it now because I look for it, but you see a lot of detransitioners trying to get their stories out because my wife is friends with I never met this person. It's one of my, she came from Canada, but one of her friends, I'm not going to say names or anything like that, but according to my wife, she was a beautiful girl and became a weird looking guy and regrets it and wants to be a girl again. But things were cut off, things were moved around, and years of hormone therapy mess you up. So, this is a person who had severe and married a guy when it was a woman. This guy is he should be a saint. They're still together. This person can't work. This person's afraid to come out of the house. You know, all she does, who became a man who wants to be a woman again. So I don't know what the hell pronoun. I'm being respectful because it's one of my wife's friends. You know what I mean? This is a person who is never should have been sold a bill of goods. You know what I mean? I just because I think this whole thing's nonsense, I do have sympathetic for the individuals, if that makes sense. I feel bad for this person. Every once in a while, my wife crying, praying for this person, and she's miserable. She doesn't know what to do. And now my wife is kind of freaking out because it's been about 8 months since anybody's heard from her because no phone, no internet presence. My wife's like, I don't know if this person's still alive or not. You know what I mean? It's a sad story. And like you said, we're going to be hearing more of this. I think this detransitioners is going to be the next thing. In the next 5-6 years, we're going to be hearing awful, horrible stories.
Oh, this is why in England they've basically eliminated the ability to do this anymore, is because they know from certain court cases that this is going to be coming down the pike and they're going to get sued into oblivion.
Yeah, and they should. And Gavin Newsom now, who's behind the curve, is just passing laws that kids could do this as young as 10 years old without their parents' consent. I mean, what does it take to tar and feather a politician these days? I got 9 voice auditions and 5 lap one. Good for you, Rex. Good for you. Great voice. If Rex has been on my channel, he's got it. My wife said that guy's got a good voice. What are your thoughts on the Avengers Doomsday trailer? I didn't watch it. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in any future Marvel MCU movies. Unless I hear from you guys that it was good, the MCU is over.
You know what, John? I seen something just in the grocery store like 2 hours ago. I seen something at the grocery store which I have not seen for decades and decades. At the very absolute minimum, this is a good thing in my opinion. I saw Spider-Man comics, a Spider-Man comic, but it was in magazine form. They had to put it in magazine form so they could sell it with the magazines, right? And I saw a Spider-Man comic at the grocery store as I was going through the checkout. It was sitting there with the National Geographics and People magazine and everything else or whatever else they sell, right? So
I'm more surprised that National Geographic is still coming out. Yeah, that is good. That is good. Is magazine size selling it at like Barnes and Nobles? Is that the future? We got to try something. Marvel, DC, you got to try something. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm not interested. Unless you guys tell me it's really good. I mean, I how many Marvel movies since Endgame? I saw the Spider-Man movie in the theaters because I just wanted to see Peter Maguire and Andrew Garfield. They got me with that gimmick, and I saw the second Doctor Strange movie, and that's when I was like, I'm done. That was barely a movie. But I'll like I said, I got a month off. Maybe I'll watch all of these movies because I stream, I read comics, I write scripts, I go to bed. I play board games. I'm playing Marvel United, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm playing as the Fantastic Four solo against Galactus, and I regret to inform you all, Earth has been destroyed. Earth 6 has been destroyed. Earth 2 has been destroyed. Earth backwards has been destroyed. I played 6 times, and I got about halfway through, and man, it is impossible to play solo. I think because there's a little bit different rules that I'm not going to go into. So I don't know, man. Galactus, where this planet is hanging on by a thread. Galactus is coming for it. Elon recently entertained the notion of funding Mel Gibson to make historically accurate Odyssey with the original Homeric language. Well, first, Elon, buy Marvel Comics, make me editor-in-chief. Before you do that, you want to save Western civilization, we have to save the American art form. I'm going to tweet again. Everybody, start tweeting that at Elon Musk. We got 37 people watching. I want to see 37 tweets. Elon Musk, you want to save Western civilization? We have to save a Western civilization, a unique Western civilization art form, the comic book. Buy Marvel Comics and put John's Long Box as editor-in-chief. There we go. Let's get this campaign going. There we go. We have it. We now have a crusade. Christopher Nolan really went downhill badly. Is this his humiliation ritual? Is this his introduction to the Illuminati, or is this his Oscar bait? You know, I don't know. Personally, I wasn't. I liked Interstellar. The Batman movies, I had really big problems with them. You know, I don't see. I'm trying to think of what other Christopher Nolan movies. Interstellar, I think, is my favorite, and I had problems with that too. But the problems with that one were me being a nitpick about time travel. Michael Savage often said liberalism is a mental disorder, which is funny because my college roommate used to quote that all the time. And then I haven't seen him, and now he's a screaming liberal. I was like, what did Michael Savage say about you? And he gets mad at me. Yeah, I heard Elon Musk wants to either use AI to make a proper Odyssey or have he just said today that within a year AI will make a proper, accurate Odyssey movie. So I think Elon Musk, I like him for many things. I was just saying to my wife, I think Elon buying Twitter is a watershed moment in the history of freedom of speech in Western civilization. I'm not even exaggerating, because progressivism and liberalism and communism was all the internet was left wing. And Elon Musk buying Twitter, I'm not going to say the internet is now right wing, but I'm saying right wing voices can now be heard. And because of that, we got Trump, whatever. Like, we were going to go Biden right to Harris to, whatever. But Elon changed Western civilization, I think, for the best because of buying Twitter. But on the bad side, I think he's too much, he's too autistic. He doesn't see the he thinks AI is better than it is. I think AI is going to reach up and then it's going to hit a peak. And I think companies that don't use AI, like right now, if you don't use AI, you're probably going to go out of business. But 10, 15 years from now, the companies that don't use AI are going to be the ones that survive, because AI, it just copies and steals. It doesn't innovate.
There was just a story last week, I think it was about a car manufacturer had to rehire a lot of its employees that they fired because the AI just was not being able to keep up with, I don't know, was safety concerns or something like that. But
yeah. AI, I will go every once in a while. I'm tired of listening to the same songs. There's no more videos on YouTube. Like, I got an hour drive to work and an hour drive back, so I'll just play with Grok AI, and I'll ask it questions that I already know the answers to. And a lot of the times it's wrong, and then you correct it. It says, oh, yeah, my bad. Now, what if you're a doctor and you're, you know what I mean? Like, AI is not going to replace human ingenuity. I think, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever way, it's here to stay. But, college kids are going to use it to write their term papers. College professors are going to use it to grade these term papers that weren't written by them. So college is just, I think it's going to just fall apart. I think somewhere down the road, there's going to be the next billionaire is going to be a guy who makes cars that, like, 1970s type cars. Everything's mechanical, no electronics, stripped down cars. And I think the next college is going to be colleges that are just like, everything's done right here. All tests are oral reports. Do you know what I mean? Like, no phones.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're go back to medieval. Everything's an oral exam, and you're doing memorization.
Right, like you do your essays and everything like that with like a proctor in the room. You know what I mean? Like, you can only do your homework under direct observation. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think college. Yeah, like, now that you made me think of it, I didn't realize that I was basically describing a monastic college, from the 1400s. Christopher Nolan, lost the plot for me with Tenet. I never saw it. Didn't look interesting.
Yeah, that was the last one. I was like, I didn't go see that.
I mean, it looked cool, but I don't know. From when I heard people talking about it, I was like, this sounds like a waste of time. Yeah, Rex. Welcome to white privilege. What is the greatest advantage of animation? That you can get the best voice actors without work? Yeah, absolutely. Right. All that matters with voice acting is the voice. Any thoughts on the new Clayface film? This is the first I'm hearing about it.
I heard about it last week, and I just rolled my eyes, saying they're trying to make another villain into a hero. Are they? Great.
Oh yeah. Well, he had a bad life. He had hardship, so he's allowed to murder people and oppress and steal. I just poor people. Being poor creates violence. No, it doesn't. Choices create violence. Yeah, being a man would magically solve. Yeah. I absolutely. This is how far back I am on the comments. I'm sorry, everybody. Most people won't read not even the classics. There's someone wants to destroy a group of people without open. Yeah, destroy the. Yeah, that's what the whole 1984 is. Those who control the past control the future, and those who control the present, whatever, something like that. But that's what they're doing. How many, like, look at Black History Month. Somebody said in the internet, you could just make up facts for Black History Month because you're not allowed to question it. Black people invented potatoes. There you go. It's a fact for Black History Month. You heard it now. So Black people invented potatoes. Agreed. Sympathy for those who bought the lies, even though we must stand against the lie. Yeah. I know it sounds weird, but don't give them an inch. Don't give anybody an inch. Like, you call everybody on all bullshit. Like, it drives my family crazy, but like, somebody says something like, "No, man can't become a woman." No, I'm not using those pronouns. Like, I got a friend who comes over all the time, and his daughter's best friend is a they them, and I said, you got two choices. That kid's never coming here, or you warn your daughter, because I'm not playing that game. Don't ask me to become a liar, because that's what you're doing. Language, the purpose of language is to convey information in utmost clarity, not to obfuscate information.
Absolutely, John.
Yep, people are vulnerable. I've said many times, I like people. I like the individual. Groups is what I have problems with.
Says the man who's going to the Comic-Con.
Well, I'm going to meet people. I'm going to meet individuals. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know. But you understand what I'm talking about? Like, some of my best friends are Muslims, but I have a problem with Islam. You know what I mean? The group.
You should stand outside the door. When you get to the front of the door to the line, right, John, just turn around and say, "Okay, everyone, I'm at this booth. This line can go towards table number 23."
A couple, I guess trans females, they're overwhelming self-hatred, they're hell. Yep. Yeah. And they get cancer. Oh yeah. We talked about the star-bellied sneeches. Yeah, I've been saying that for years. That guy's just a star-bellied sneech. And the other one is Harrison Bergeron. RJ, I'm going to send you online. You got to read the story. I guarantee you're going to read the story, and one of your Saturday sermons is going to be about Harrison Bergeron. The last Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah. The last one I watched was something else, because I watched it at home. But the last one I went to the movie theater was the one with the three Spider-Mans. I'm a fan of the two I like the first Spider-Verse film. My only problem is once everybody's Spider-Man, nobody's Spider-Man. Glad I live on Earth Control. Oh man, we are so behind. Besides, Elon could be a superhero. I'm friends with this girlfriend. Consider it done. Okay, cool. Are you real? If you are, if we have an in with Elon Musk, that would be awesome. I'd quit, man. I'd quit my construction job in a heartbeat. I'm eligible for retirement, but like at the lowest tier. Dunkirk. Oh, I didn't realize that was Nolan. I'm autistic, Asperger's, but I don't think AI is the answer. Okay. Most efficient solution is not always the best. Sometimes the most efficient solution is horrific. I mean, just kill everybody. You know, like America, we got problems. Kill the 1% bottom people. You know, kill off all the leeches. It's the most efficient, but you know, can we do that? Yeah, we can. You know what I'm saying. AI is a resource to supplement, not an authority. Yep. The main thing is to outsource your thinking. There's a guy, and I'm not going to mention names because I know he's watching this right now, but he uses AI to write novels. And then I wrote this. To me, having AI do your writing, it's like going to a restaurant, ordering food, and then when the waiter brings food down, you go, I cooked this. I asked for it. I told him what to do. I cooked this. Look at this. Look what I cooked. No, you didn't. That's what AI is. No Professor Geek, he'll fail any student writing with AI. Good. Sound engraver, do you teach music? Like, has AI affected, like, learning to play an instrument or anything like that? I never thought about that until I just saw you. RJ, chime in. I'm just trying to catch up on all these quotes. Usually this show has such great comments. RJ, in your opinion, who created the fantasy genre, Lord Dunsany or Robert E. Howard?
I honestly think I couldn't say who created the I'm not that familiar with Lord Dunsany at all, but fantasy goes back to ancient myth. I mean, there are ancient Romans who wrote fantasy stories, going to the moon, going to the sun, meeting the people there. So, yeah, the creator of fantasy, that's something I don't think. I think it's just human history and their ability to tell stories. It's always been with us.
Yeah, I think there's always been fantasy, but I think Tolkien is the modern fantasy. You know, at least that's the one that everybody's copying. But Lord Dunsany is one of the inspirations for Lovecraft. So I will always give Lord Dunsany. I got one of his books. It's a weird read, and I know Tony read it. He reads everything. One of the biggest groups of socialists is overeducated, lower income folks who got bad degrees. Yeah, because it's easier to blame other people for your problems. That think racism, socialism, all these isms. The bottom line is it's easier to blame other people for your problems because the ego won't let you think that you done messed up wrong.
Exactly, and I think it's the people who used to be serfs and depended upon their lord. That's the kind of people who get these degrees these days, saying, you know, I need a patron's Lady Bountiful or something of the kind, just like Marx, right? You know, I need someone to pay for all this. I want to be a serf again. That's what these people are.
Thank you for the quote, Zach 10. I knew I was messing it up. Old man brain. We actually, what Liza said, we think, yeah, I'm sure everybody in this chat has lost a family member to the mind virus. That is the mentality of those who do not believe in objective truth. The past does not cease to exist just because it's past. Yeah, that's RJ. That one of the things he said that progressivism just denies objective truth, and once we now, whenever I argue with people, I always try to leave God out of it because that just chases a lot of people away, you know. But like, so whenever like, we're getting farther away from God, like I always say, no, we're getting farther away from the truth. And watch, whenever I say that, because I used to argue God or whatever, but now I say the truth. And watch, they actually get madder because now they know they're wrong. When you say God, they can at least go, you believe in that nonsense and dismiss what you're saying. But when you say, like, you're getting farther away from the objective truth. Like, being fat is not healthy. Men cannot become women. Women cannot become men. You know, we the truth is the truth. You know, that's when they go ballistic, and that's when you know that's when you know that they know that they're losing the argument.
And that's what I was going around about last year. I guess it was most of the time, or about 6 months ago. About it's that's why I link it to like mental disorders and things like that. If they live most of their lives in their mind where everything's subjective, and they think that they can then throw that blanket on top of the reality around them, and someone calls them on that's when you're going to see the mental disorder come to the surface.
Like, look at that blue head freak that's been all over Twitter. Who got arrested because somebody misgendered him, and he was freaking out. That guy needs help. Why does that guy should be screaming, "I need help! I need help!" Yeah, I went to college and was hoodwinked into being a liberal for a couple of years, you know, and I like to think I don't follow trends, you know, so that shows you how strong college is. Some of my friends are people. The purpose of mass public education was to create intelligent, independent thinkers. It's been a huge failure. If the point was to make generations of unthinking pilots, but it's correct. Absolutely. You know,
I don't know, Unicorn. I would argue with that because I always say that the origin of public school would be Franco-Prussian War, and it's basically I go over this in my videos every once in a while. It's the fact that the Franco-Prussian War just drained both France and most of Germany of a generation of young men, and they wanted to continue to fight, but they just didn't have the soldiers to do so. So each of them instituted public education in order to teach the young to keep that grievance alive, to hate the other side in order for them to be good little citizens, to grow up, to become soldiers, to start a new war, which we see in the First World War and the Second World War.
I have a cousin that's a school teacher that I just stopped talking to. She said, it's the hard school teacher. It's the hardest job in the world. And every day on Facebook, she's posted pictures of herself drinking a margarita from a hammock. I deserve this. And I started it. I just said, you deserve shit. You know?
Well, you were a teacher, John. You know better.
I hate teachers. I hate teachers. Teachers are the biggest con artists in the world. They barely do anything. And when the kid graduates, they can't tell time. They can't make change. They don't know where Europe is on a map. What are they doing with these kids? They all hate their students. They talk bad about them. They all can't wait to retire. They all can't wait for summertime. And then they tell you this, oh, I just love my students. That's not what you were saying to me in the teacher's break room. That's not, get a teacher drunk and listen to them talk about their students. They hate them. And they're uneducated. It would be one thing. And they all want more money. They all want more money. They work 180 days a year, and they all want more money. Every time you turn around, they got another vacation. They got all the Juneteenth days off now too. Less and less days per year, more and more money, and the kids can't tell time. The kids can't make change. The kids can't make they can't back up their facts. And now you have iPads in the classroom. You know what I mean? It's no. I hate teachers. I hate the Board of Education. Do away with it all. You'll have, if Laura could have learned with a piece of chalk and a rock,
I saw this video last week. I just saw the thumbnail, right? And it was, can you name this country? And it was one of the Balkan countries, right? And I did not click on the video. I zoomed in on the map and go, okay, this is Croatia, that's Bosnia Herzegovina, that's Romania, there's Austria, and I'm going through each of the countries trying to whittle it down to which one it was. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder how many people who go through public education could actually do this today. Because all I did was take history, right? I mean, I know the Balkans fairly good because I took a history degree. But I wonder how many people going through, even university, would be able to go through the Balkan countries and just name them off one by one.
Sound Engraver, if you wouldn't mind, would you come on my channel and we'll talk about music? I'm interested about this. But I'm glad
if you do that, let me know when this occurs. I want to hear this discussion.
Yeah, that would be a fun talk if you're not camera shy. But I would love to talk to you about a person who actually teaches music and apparently knows about music, because I never thought about this, but I got a couple, I'm a conspiracy guy. I love a good conspiracy. I'm not saying I believe them, but I love hearing about them, and I love entertaining the ideas of these conspiracies and then think of the logical outcome. But now people are saying, like, modern music is a psyop. And the funny thing is, I worked with this guy. He's got to be retired by now, George. And this guy, he only worked the middle shift. Remember, I was working the middle shift for a while, and so he could sleep during the day. And then right from work, he would go to all the jazz clubs, and he was a clarinet player. And this guy would be up till 4 o'clock in the morning playing clarinets. Apparently he's pretty locally famous, and older black guy, just a freaking coolest guy you've ever met. And he would say this. He goes, ever since the Beatles, it's all been a psyop to make people stupid. He goes, we had Dave Brubeck, we had Chet Baker, Coltrane, and all these guys, the music and Miles Davis, they expanding your mind and making you think. He goes, and now it's just been repetitious. Rolling Stones and the Beatles, rock and roll 4/4 beat repetitions. It's hypnotic. He goes, and modern rap is just glorifying the worst parts of society. I like punk rock, and he was not favorable about punk rock. You would have gotten along with him, RJ. But I was a stupid, impressionable 16-year-old kid. You know what I mean? But I wonder what you think, Sound Engraver. If that sounds like an interesting topic to come on my channel and talk about, let me know. Yes, I have a copy of The King in Yellow. Yes.
I don't think I've ever read The King in Yellow, Tony, but it's a collection of short stories and poems. Is that
It's
what it is?
it's supposed to be a play. It's supposed to be a play, and it's supposed to be like a found play. Like there's kayfabe about it, and the act of performing the play is a spell. And if you perform the play properly, everybody goes mad and kills each other. So it's like so Lovecraft always has like, everybody went mad at this local showing of The King in Yellow, and it summons Hoster, and people die and go mad. It's composing AI music that's under the strain of the I can always I stand correct. I'm going to correct myself. I can't always tell because I have been tricked a few times. But like when you see like an AI movie, something weird about it, and when I hear AI music, something doesn't sound right. Yeah, I want to say that there's a difference between bigotry and discrimination are two different things. Bigotry is when you just hate somebody because there's no logical reason. Discrimination is when you got a problem with people or a people because of a logical, well thought out. Discrimination used to be good.
Yes, and you discriminate. You choose between A and B.
You discriminate. Jeff, because they were discriminating, right? We all got to become choosy mothers again. RJ, would you agree with Captain Kirk's monologue from Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country about how human beings need pain in order to become human?
In order to become, I don't think it's in order to become human. I think it's
be human. I read it wrong.
Well, to be human, again, I think he's got it backwards in the fact that that is what human is right now. But again, that's our broken human nature. That's not what we're actually meant to be. So that's why I think he got it backwards. Although I said this before, I do very much agree with, let's say, Captain Jean-Luc Picard in, I can't remember which, was it Undiscovered Country? No, it wasn't. It was the one of the movies he was in with Captain Kirk. I think it was when he said basically, when you create a machine, we're talking about AI. So when you create a machine to do the work of a man, you take away from the man.
Yeah, I believe. Just imagine a person who grows up without hardship or pain. That person lacks a major part of humanity. How are you going to relate to that person? Pain. Life is pain. Life is suffering. As the Buddhists say, they ain't wrong. Not that we were made to suffer. I think that's a little too extreme. But like my father used to say, a little spanking never hurt nobody. Like it. If you never had pain, then you're going to see a fire. You're going to stick your arm in the fire, and burn your hand off because you never. You know what I mean? Like pain is sandpaper for experience. You know what I mean? So, I'm scared of getting shocked at work because it hurts to get electrocuted. You know what I mean? So I work smarter. If I never felt pain, I would have either burnt down a building or be dead by now. So.
Tony, in order to expand on what you're saying, I would say, pain is a part of being human. But this is one of the discussions I had a long time ago with someone. Basically, it's the argument that if you ever do any theological stuff, some people would claim that mercy is the essential part of God, but that's not it. Love is the essential part of God. Why? Because you get to heaven, there's no need for mercy, and you get to heaven, there is no pain, but you will be you'll be a human in the ultimate way to be human. So it's not essential to have pain to be human, but it's essential in our current existence that pain be part of your life. And that's why, especially in my tradition anyways, and John would back me up on that, I'm sure, because he's of the same tradition as me. Pain is part of your life, so you offer it up to God. And I was always taught that as a kid. You offer up your pain to God,
Yeah, just like if you drop your spaghetti on the floor, you kiss it up to God, and then you can eat your spaghetti. Other people have the 3-second rule. My mom's like, kiss it up to God. So any food we dropped, you kiss it, hold it up, and then eat it. Because we're the 7 kids and food was scarce. I wanted to say, was it this Saturday where you were talking about like hatred and fear? These are all emotions. Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that because I've been saying it. Like people we got to eradicate hate. And I'm like, no, we don't. It's a human emotion. We evolved it. It's part of us. What other emotions are socially so there's emotions. I said, we generate these emotions for a reason. It's how I said nobody's ever gotten in trouble because of love. You know, I know more people who got in trouble because of love than hate. So knock it off. I'm so you finally eloquently explained my argument that I've been having with people for 20 years. But you know, some people have a way with words, and other people not have way. I was under the impression that the Prussian public education system was to train factory workers.
Well, it was to train good citizens, and of course, factory workers would be you're building the bombs, you're not the bombs, but you're building the ammunition, right? Again, the whole point was prepare for war. So good citizens to prepare for war.
Public teaching is hard. Yes, it is. It is hard, and a lot of teachers just give up on it. And I gave up on it. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this for the rest of my life. I'm going to be miserable or in jail. So I had to leave. I was going to strangle somebody, and whether that was a parent, another teacher, an administrator, or a student, I wasn't sure, but somebody was going to get strangled if I stayed in the public school system. So I left. But I was just thinking about this today on my drive home. The public school system, we need to have a tier system. These are the good kids. These are the good kids. They go here, they get the better teachers. They go to a different school where there's better food. There's got to be a reward system. You're a troublemaker, leave. You're expelled. Go, what? Not everybody's going to become a doctor or a lawyer. Some people, and if your parents don't step up to the bat and control the kid, leave. Because teaching, this I used to say this. There's three. It's a triangle. You got to have good teachers. You got to have a good student, and you got to have good parents. And any one of those is missing. That's a 66, and that's a failing grade. You got to have all three of them. And you got good teachers, and if the student doesn't want to participate, get rid of them, just expel them. Normalize getting kids. Go on the street. Go sell drugs. Go become a prostitute. Get the hell out of the schools, because right now the good kids are at the mercy of the bottom 1% in the school, and that's no way to run a school. That's the way
it was in my high school, John. And I went back after a while, and they had to get rid of the program because when I was in high school, if you met a certain threshold, which is basically 90% in the regular classes, you were bumped up to advanced classes.
Right. Go to a better school.
Yep.
Like you go to a school where there's like a guy who, good morning, sound engraver. It's good to see you today. I hope you learned something good. And they open the door for you. And if it's all white, or if it's all Asian, or if it's all black, that's whatever, as long as it's earned. Once you have DEI or whatever, then you defeated the purpose. We need to have a harrowing in like America. The next 20 years, it's got to be difficult. We got to bring back public shame. We got to start, like I said, I see people walking by me and they're talking on the phone. I go, hey buddy, use your headphones. Whether it's a stranger or what. Yeah, I'm not crazy old man who yells at people, because
in New York,
it's not going to stop unless we as a people decide enough is enough. We don't need no education. Leave those kids alone. Unions work to pass more property taxes. I think there's going to be a revolt of the unions. I really do. I think it's happening because the unions, at least my unions in New York, that vote Democrat. And then the last couple of meetings, they're like, oh my God, they're all crazy. And I'm just like, I was the bad guy for 20 years. The whole time I was saying we can't just blindly follow a party. Now we got Mondami running, and now like, oh, what are we going to do? It's like, how about you listen to me now, But the average person, the average union worker doesn't go to meetings anymore. That they just want to retire and move to Florida. It's like, oh, you all want to retire and go to a red state, but you don't want to speak up while you're here. Until recently, I never heard of Juneteenth. I finally looked it up. It's apparently with a group of slaves. Yeah, it's where the Republicans freed the slaves from the Democrats. That's whenever anybody asks what Juneteenth is, I say, yeah, it's when the Republicans freed the slaves from the Democrats. I'd watch their heads freak out. I said, yeah. I love a Republican holiday. And you watch people's heads freaking smoke comes out of their eye. What specific history did you specialize in? I did the Anglo-Japanese alliance and how it affected the Russia. Geez, that's great. I have a degree in Greco-Persian history.
If you're asking me, I did two majors actually. One was in classics, the other was in history. So the classics one would be ancient Greece, basically Athenian and Spartan, and around that time period. But we'll go a little bit prior, pre-Socratic and stuff like that. But for the actual history, it will be mainland European history, especially we'll say prior, well, World War II and prior, for the basically a couple hundred years. So modern history up until World War II.
Rex asked, "What is kayfabe?" Is like the only way to explain it is pro wrestling. They're all in on it. Everybody pretends that wrestling is real, even though everybody knows wrestling's not real. So kayfabe is an agreed upon delusion, like H.P. Lovecraft. We all know that H.P. Lovecraft made up the Necronomicon, but we all like to pretend that it's real. You know what I mean? So that's kayfabe, is an agreed upon. Let's just go along with it. Let's just go along with it.
That's funny you should say that, John, because one of my friends, she went with a bunch of people to wrestling matches in the local town, and she came back with a red face, like that was the worst experience I had in my life. I was just so embarrassed to be there, because she's one of these people who just call a spade a spade.
I never liked pro wrestling because I didn't get the kayfabe. I looking back as my childhood, I do think that I would have been diagnosed autistic, because like people would say stuff and like right in their face, I'd be like, you're absolutely wrong. Like, and I had no clue why they were mad at me. Like I told you, the story, the famous story that I always tell is there was this girl, beautiful girl, and it was my junior year, and I brought records to school to lend to a kid who was interested in these punk rock records. So I brought in like the Ramones and Dead Kennedys and stuff. I was like, hey, if you scratch them, I'll kill you, kind of thing. And like 2 weeks later, it's like, I taped them all. These are great. And as he was giving them back, this girl was like, you like that stuff, but you're cool. That's, like I should have been listening to Bruce Springsteen. And I just was, I was like, oh man, And then years later, I'm in a bar with my friend Terry, and I see this. He's like, that freaking hot girl over there staring at you. I'm like, oh, I know her from school. So I go in and sit next to her, and I just remember she had this mini skirt on, these stockings, and these legs, and what a body she had. She was the same girl, but 24 years old. Built like a woman now. And she's like, oh, Johnny, you're so cool. You used to listen to all this cool, because now punk rock was cool. Green Day and Nirvana and stuff like that were cool. So John was always into this. I go, you kidding me? You made fun of me back in high school. I totally shut her down. And Terry just goes, way to go. I've never seen a guy purposely bomb so spectacularly. Because all you had to do was play along with it. You were in. And I was like, I can't, so I think, like I had to cut the tags off of all my shirt. I remember my mom would put a shirt on me and I would stand there frozen. Cut the tag off, then I could move. Would you consider punk rock to be a psyop? How can we go from Iggy Pop to Ramones to Pistols to Green Day? I could see it. I don't know, but I just think like everything else, the left infiltrated everything and claimed it, because the Ramones were all Republicans. I don't know what Iggy Pop's politics were, and I'm glad I still don't know. But like the Sex Pistols are right wingers. It's just punk rock. I don't know, but you know what? It came out when the right was at the highest power, and if the left, that was the left's reaction. It was fun, exciting music. Now the left is in power, and the music is so dull. So let's have some right-wing conservative. Everything's better when right-wing conservative Christians are in charge. The punk, rebellious music is better. The comic books are better. The movies are better. Slavic folklore is cool, but my impression is similar to the Celts. It takes a strong emperor to keep them from fighting.
That's interesting comment, Zach Dan, because the whole point of I think the Slavic folklore, because Slavs took basically most of Northern Europe, whereas the history of the Celts goes from basically Greece and then down to Egypt and then back around into the southern parts of Europe and into Spain, Portugal, and then up towards through the sea, the islands of Ireland and England, Scotland, and things like that, and the surrounding little bits and areas. So there's a completely different path of the peoples, which follows both of those strains, excuse me, of mythology. So how you see similarities in them. I would say, just off the top of my head, it's the similarities within more of a natural way of looking at the world than anything else. But you just sparked something in my head about the difference between those kinds of mythologies. It's very interesting because you're right. There is similar strains, like the whole point with basically the what do you call what turned into leprechauns, but they were fae and things like that. And within the Slavic cultures, you know, gnomes and everything. So you get to see a mixture of the two within sort of Tolkien and his description of how things change. But the etymology, it does follow that there is parallel strains. That's a really good comment. Thank you, Zach.
There are a few AI songs that I really like. I wonder, like when I hear this crap rap music, how like was it AI years ago and we just didn't know about it? Because like Drake can't be a real human being. Nobody could be that terrible as a musician. Nobody could make music that awful. He has to not be a human. But the only thing that I will say in AI's defense is I'm glad that Hollywood is scared, and I'm glad that actors are scared, because I hate actors and I hate Hollywood. He's been using AI to bring life to Star Wars stories people have always wanted to see. Yeah. I mean, will it be a democracy of entertainment? Like YouTube in a way, like any jerk like me could just turn on a camera and start talking, you know? Like right now, you're not watching MASH reruns or whatever streaming, you're watching this, and I thank you for doing it. Will AI make so that the average person can make epic movies that, you know? I mean, it's going to be 99% of it's going to be garbage, you know? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
I always think to myself back to I think it was probably Frank Miller, but it might have been Art Adams, who's talked about the style of an artist is all of his faults put together with skill. So, you know, that's the problem with AI, because it strains out the faults. And, you know, I was just watching like old videos a while ago and watching how the movements of the dancers was to some extent just, we'll say, not coordinated enough to be anywhere near perfect, and that's what made part of the humanity of it, if you ask me.
Steven Silhouette says the hardship of picking cotton wasn't cheated from humanity with the invention of the cotton gin. AI paranormal can easily snowball into anti-technology. Part of what makes I think it's a normal human reaction. I mean, we all heard about the Luddites. Anytime any new technology comes out, there's always a backlash against it, and then the pendulum will settle. You know what I mean? But AI is out of the bag. It's here to stay. I think like everything else, we're going to go crazy with it, and then we'll find this happy medium. But like you said, some companies just started hiring back all the humans. You know, it's not the panacea people think. The intolerance video was awesome.
Thank you very much, Sound Graver. Thank you, John.
It really, really was good. I mean, I've been quoting it all day. I've been saying all day long, we live with what we tolerate. We get what we tolerate. Young Pope? No.
I have not watched this, Tony. I haven't watched HBO probably since 1989.
Yeah, we finally got rid of HBO. I'm trying to convince my wife that to only have one streaming service at a time. So let's just have Netflix, watch everything we want on Netflix, then cancel it, and then, you know, watch HBO. Watch everything we want, then cancel it, you know, because why have 4 streaming services and then we don't watch it most of the time? Love can be expressed through grace, mercy, justice, but mercy and justice is expressed because something. Yeah, I mean, you know,
agreed, Zach. Yep,
I agree. One of the most widespread discriminating against conservatives. Yep. I mean, that's the whole point of the Democrats' voting policy. So who do you vote for, Athens or Sparta?
I'm an Athens fella. I very much love Plato and Aristotle. So, you know, as much as the Spartans had a very unique culture and the ability to create, let's just say, strong individuals, they're very much like the Prussians in my mind. But much as I hate the French, I would go with the French over the Prussians, and I would go with the Athenians over the Spartans.
Well, I hate Helots. So Helots are scum, so I like the Spartans. So kayfabe is a gimmick. Yes, absolutely. It's going along with wrestling when you know what I mean. Like one of the stories that actually made me smile was I forget the name of the wrestler. I'm not a wrestling fan. Don't get mad at me. You could like it all you want. I don't hate it. Just not for me. But one of the wrestlers was talking about his contract in front of another wrestler, and he's like, "That guy's I deserve that." And a little kid walked by, and during the wrestling match, he was supposed to have broke his leg. So the other guy nudged him, and he saw the little kid, and then they both started lipping, and the other guy was helping him, and he's like, "Oh, you know what I mean?" Because they all pretend it's real. That you know what I mean. So while you're at the venue, while you're in the shorts, they all pretend it's real. So they had to get back into kayfabe. That for you know what I mean? It's like pretending Santa Claus is real. That's kayfabe. Seeing a live WWS as a kid is the peak. Yeah, my buddy Mike, you know, he still likes it, and up until he went away to college, his father would have these, like they would all get like the pay-per-views and have big parties, you know, and I was always invited, and I just liked being part of the party, you know what I mean? And then I cheered when everybody else cheered because I didn't really care, you know what I mean? So, same when I go to my brother's for Super Bowl party. I'm not into Super Bowl, but you know, I like the finger food, and I like that my family's all hanging out, you know what I mean? You sound like Principal Joe Clark, nicely played by Morgan Freeman. Oh, me or RJ? You have principles even if they close you a door or much to my chagrin. You know, I'm a perfect example of when keeping it real goes wrong. Would you consider comics modern mythology, and thus ancient myths are basically ancient comics? What do you think, RJ?
I don't think they're mythology. Well, to some extent, depends on how you would define mythology. If it's basically tying into the angst and the opposite of that, which would probably be more of a virtuous, courageous way of looking at things and slapping them on the page for generations, then if that's what you consider mythology, I would say yes. But mythology, in my mind, is more of just we'll say a misting over of legend, which is a misting over of history itself. So it has a tie into things that are actually real. And so that's why I wouldn't consider modern comics mythology. I would consider it, again, the psychological storytelling of a nation or an area in order for them to understand the world around them. And I think comics help do that for America, but I don't exactly think I would call it mythology.
I think comic books should be and are just part of American culture and a way American culture spread. I mean, look at after World War II. You know, all the soldiers were mailed comic books. They left them in the Philippines. They left them in Japan. You know, they left them all over Europe and everything like that. And American culture spread. You know, and it's just a shame. It's just a shame what's going on with comic books. You know, the left destroys everything. You know the Democrats socialists seize the means of production. You notice it's never create the means of production. You know, by default, by their own admission, socialism doesn't create anything. It only takes. And when there's nothing left to take, everything degenerates. You know, seize the means of production. I always say, why don't you create the means of production? How come I've never seen Bernie Sanders say, you know, we're going to start our way of producing things. We're gonna create a means of production. No, they're gonna take it from somebody else. So whenever they say that, seize the means of production, they're admitting that capitalism creates this stuff and socialism only takes it. And that's what these socialists have done with comic books. They seized them and now ruined them. And they're like locusts. There's no more grain left, and they're going someplace else. That's what progressive. I know that doesn't really answer your question, but I'm a crazy person. Even if AI can make the best movies and music, it still doesn't matter. RJ is right. The artist isn't perfect and has a personal signature. Yes, he does. John, pro wrestlers often say their superheroes come to life with costume. Yeah, I know that's what my buddy Mike says, and that's fine. That's fine. You know, he says it's the closest. Mike, you know, he writes his own comic, Marshall Strong. Check it out on Thunder Zone on Kickstarter right now. That's what he says. He goes, it's the closest you ever get to being a comic book, and he ain't wrong.
You go back to Superman. He's originally created from strongmen, Carnival strongmen, and basically stuff like that, right?
Yeah. When it comes to streaming services, it's basically Highlander. In the end, it can only be one. Yeah, one at a time. How many shows are you going to watch? Watch everything on Netflix. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I think it's a waste of money to have 4 streaming services. You know, but my wife likes her Hallmark channel, and I like that she likes her Hallmark channel. It makes her happy. RJ, what are your thoughts on the Gnostic texts such as the Gospel of Judas?
Tony, I'll tell you basically what I thought in going through university. They had a religious studies department, and I said to myself, why in the world would I take religious studies? I need to know more about my own religion than some other religion or some other false parts of religion. So I'm going to just put that out of my mind as a consideration and focus on what I believe and I think to myself historically is true. So I don't give a whole lot of space or energy towards things that I know that for a lot more smarter men than me, they have already discounted as not being correct.
I will say Gnosticism is my favorite heresy. I'm fascinated by it. I read everything I can about it. I'm actually making RJ, the follow-up story to that metaphysician story that you read is based on a Gnostic guy who thinks he's a hero, but he's actually a villain. Doc Gnostic is his name. He's a fellow magician based on Gnostic texts and stuff. So he's trying to save the world according to the Gnostic ideal, which makes him a villain. I think you're going to like this story. But
you should tie it back to like a Sibylline text, because Sibylline texts are basically the same thing. It's like the lost books of wisdom, right?
Yeah, he's going to find the lost book of Gnostic texts, and through it he's going to learn, and delve into this source of Gnostic power. So he's going to be like a Gnostic Doctor Strange. And it's funny because he's going to be talking to, I'm telling the whole story, but he's going to be talking to the metaphysician like, isn't this great? And the metaphysician's like, no, we can't do this. What are you, crazy? And the metaphysician is a doctor. He's the doctor of everything. So he's going to try to cure him, So I just don't know how to end it. Once I figure out the ending, Hey, John, I have a feeling like comics in America are starting to go back to the way they were before. Less corporal, more... Well, that's what this independent thing was supposed to be. And the problem is, is all the infighting, people getting jealous. This group thinks that they're in charge or whatever. But, I don't know. You go to Kickstarter, there's 1 million comics. Unfortunately, most of them are booby comics, And I think that is the dark side. It's quick to do. You can make a couple of bucks, you know what I mean, and draw boobies and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think it's like the cranberries, the lowest hanging fruit.
It doesn't create culture.
It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do think every little bit helps. My silly little comics. I don't know. Maybe I'm putting a little drop in the culture bucket, But I just like it, and it's a lot of fun for me. And I like I said, I'd like to get to 10 comics, and then I don't want to quit until I get to 10. I know my wife's upstairs, grip their teeth. On top of that, I think it's evolving into a fusion of American manga pulp. Yeah, Ben, comic. Nobody can deny we're in a transition right now, and I don't have my magic 8 ball, so I don't know what the future. If I knew what the future could predict, I'd have more than $2,000 sales on my new comic. Kayfabe is the suspension of disbelief which is needed for any fiction, but the deception of it reaches the hoax entertainment. Yeah. The kayfabe of the world is certain. Oh, whoa! Somebody was telling me about this. Was it you, Rex? I got to look into this. If you could private message me about this, something I wanted to check into, and I completely forgot. What are your thoughts on Meister Eckhart, the late 80s psychological film? Jacob's Ladder referenced him about the description of heaven and hell. I don't know anything about him. RJ, do you?
Besides your references to Jacob's Ladder, I really don't know either.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Tony usually has thoughtful comments, but Tony's smarter than me, so sometimes. Tony, tone it down to a dummy. Jordan Peterson would likely argue that mythology is a distillation of centuries of stories that are embedded with metaphorical truths. I'll buy that for $1. What do you think?
Yeah, again, I think mythology. To me, this is part of again what I did for my master's when I was doing my major paper for it, basically talking about how the movement from mythology to poetry and then into history and then into philosophy was simply a way of distilling down the truth more than anything. So it had an origin point, I think, of truth to it, just like mythology. As I said, you can go from mythology back into to um, to legend and legend back into history. So it's not as metaphysical as all that, if you ask me.
All I know about Jordan Peterson is somebody pointed out that he sounds like Kermit the Frog, and now I can't listen to him anymore. And he's Kermit the Frog who dresses like the Riddler. So I'm sorry, Jordan. I got to put you through a voice filter. Maybe I'll listen to you. But I do like that he stood up against the woke people and refused to call somebody a he, she, or whatever, or use the preferred pronouns. That I still think he lost his job over it. He didn't know that he was going to become a celebrity over it. So he can't take that away from him. John, you should check out the late '70s manga Kinnikuman. It's about wrestling superheroes. Okay, yeah. Is it oh, it's manga. So okay, because I love the Mexican comics that Oscar sent me about El Santo. Yeah, the Woad universe. I think you were telling me about this. If you could private message me so I could remember to look this up. I've seen lots of rap documents. Rap was created for people who can't sing or play musical instruments, but it won't be in the music. Yeah, I mean, it's the voice of the poor people in the streets. No, it's not. I mean, the poor Irish slaves, they learned how to play banjos and fiddles and wrote some beautiful music. You know what I mean? And to me, rap has always just been lame music, and we make excuses and pretend it's good. You know, rap should have been a 6 month fad and gone away, and I think it was artificially propped up because it was cheap. You know, it was just one guy. I've been not saying this for years, but I can't. I hate it. I think it's just garbage music. It makes me angry when I hear it, and that's all. You know, when I first got into construction, it was always CBS 101, the oldie station, and then it became, you know, classic rock station, and now it's just rap. So I have headphones on playing Mel Torme all day long, and that prevents me from fighting because rap just angers me. Probably something closer to myth or the national stories we learn. Not that they are true, but they are always curated. What could I? Yeah, I've always like I like the different. Well, I know fables, but like tall tales, myths, legends. Like I never really understood the difference. Like Peter Punyon, you know, Paul
Peter
Bunyan.
Bunyan, yeah, Paul Bunyan, yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Yep.
Yeah, that's a tall tale. I don't know, like, you know, like
Well,
it's
Pecos Bill, but I would say again, those are probably figures that were in a town that somebody just blew up into a larger proportion.
RJ3 has entered the chat. RJ Williams, call sign Orion. He's going to be printing it soon. Can't wait. Can't wait. Art by Luke Stone, who also drew the sleeper agent for me. Good. You know, can't wait. Can't wait. Actually, Peterson has thoroughly argued mythology as a psychological distillation of his maps of meaning, and maybe even he who wrestled with God. This is above my intellect. Sound again, I don't really know much about Jordan Peterson. Didn't his daughter like date Andrew Tate or something like that? That's the gossip I know. Why do people believe what they believe, and how do beliefs govern one's perception and behavior? That is an interesting question. That's a whole topic in itself. Like, I don't know. I think most people just believe what they believe because they were born into it. Very few people self-examine it. And RJ, what do you think about this? Thank you, Stephen. You just gave me an idea. I was talking about this, I think, with my wife. That as far as I know, Christianity is the only religion that encourages people to question it and doubt it and examine it. Like,
Oh yeah, because that's the whole point of like the Summa Theologica for Thomas Aquinas. It's come at me, bro. It's give me your hardest criticism, and I will handle that first, and then just whatever comes out of that, we'll tick it down the box and make sure that we cross all our T's and dot all our I's. It's always come at me with your strongest objections, and I will answer them. And if I can't answer them, I have to go and study and figure out what the answer is and come back to you. That's Christianity in a nutshell, especially as scholasticism, medieval Christianity, exactly. But Stephen, to go off on what you say just really quickly, I think Peterson's a little bit too enamored with Jung, and that itself, oddly enough, connected to what we were talking about, I think is a bit of Gnosticism stuck into what Jung actually comes up with.
Yeah, I can't argue. I don't. His voice bothers me. I know that's like a lowbrow answer, but it is the truth for me. His voice, and then there was a period every time I saw him, he was crying. I was like, the guy's crying and he sounds like Kermit the Frog. But again, the first time I heard about him, he was standing up against these pronoun people, and I got to give credit to that. But that's really all I know about him. There's a lot of people, like I said, I put up a force field a lot. I've been keeping a lot of stuff out. A few people have reached out to me, dude. You left the Discord groups. No offense, I just don't need constant arguing in my ear all the time. If I understand correctly, agnostic, if it's used to, means that the existence of non-existence of a god or God is inherently unknowable. What do you think? Is that good?
Yeah, basically that's a good definition, Rex.
Okay. Kermit the Frog who dresses like the Riddler. Oh, by the way, Stephen, your fan art is on the letters page of the Christmas special. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. JP does have a wonderfully whimsical fashion sense. RJ, what are your thoughts? Tony just coming out with the difficult questions. What are your thoughts on Martin Luther and his split from the church? Just explain Protestantism to us, RJ.
I think that he was burdened very heavily with scrupulosity, which drove him to error. We'll just put it that way, Tony.
Well, I didn't know about this because I grew up Roman Catholic, but what do you think about that Protestant sola scriptura? That was a new concept to me. I only learned about it like within a year.
Okay, well, the Catholic argument for that is, so if everything that is true and needed for salvation can be found in the Scripture and the Scripture alone, where does it say in the Scripture that you use the Scripture and the Scripture alone? And they can pull out a couple of different verses which sound like, if you interpret them in that way, then that's what it is. But it again, it's supposed to be, it's there, and you're telling me it's there and it's clear, but to me that's not clear. So prove, guys, physician, heal thyself, right, is the kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for it because to me it's a new concept, but I've been thinking about it a lot actually. Rap is not my cup of tea, but I think it's best when augmenting other songs.
I agree, Zach Dan. If you want something like a good song, I think, for me, this is why I have a little bit of trouble with the regional music around me right now, because there's no tonal shift whatsoever. But if you put something in a song where you have basically some spoken word in the middle of it, and it brings a different change to the song that breaks it up, I think that's what's needed in song. But I'm just an uneducated person like John. John is to me for music like I am to John for philosophy. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I spent I don't know how, just like comic books, but vinyl has been showing up at my house. All my brothers and sisters, when they moved to CDs and stuff, they gave me all their vinyl. So I got hundreds of records that I've never listened to. So this weekend I was playing board games, solo board games, and playing records. It was fun. Listening to old Rod Stewart, and I don't even know records that I just never, ever heard before in my life. It was fun. I kind of liked it. Anything but rap. But I will say, like bands that play their own music in the rap, I'll tolerate that because at least they're playing instruments. But I don't know. Most rap is garbage. What do you want me to say? Especially sampling. Sampling to me is just AI. We don't tolerate AI, but we tolerate. I hated sampling when it came out in the 80s. I thought it was lazy. I thought it was stealing. I thought it was plagiarism, and I still feel that way. Rap is a repetition of self-serving mantra to set to a rhythmic hypnotic beat. It's a program geared to stimulate and reinforce base desire. I do agree. I think it's the same thing as shamanism. It's just repeated drum beats to create a trance-like state. And I'm part of me wonders if people are susceptible to suggestion in this translate state. I'm not even joking about that. The unaccept, yeah, what he says. I can't talk anymore. The unfumbled mouth is worth speaking. I'm pretty sure 50 cents I get money is a magical incantation. No, but I think it's a hypnotic trance state, people. You get a whole but there's a whole subgenre called trance music. It's honored to be featured on your. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, you got a letter, and Zachtan, you got a letter. We just finished up the letters page today. Archie, what are your thoughts on plenary how do you say this word?
Plenary indulgences. I'm full Catholic right through and through, Tony. I still have belief that indulgences are something that can be granted to, not something you can buy, but something can be granted. It's basically the indulgence is so you have a let's say we'll do this in a carpentry way. You have a nice piece of wood, and the nice piece of wood is taken, and you hammer nails into it. The nails going into it, that's sin. Jesus comes along and takes those nails out of the wood, and you no longer have the sin there, but the holes are still there. So plenary indulgences are what you do to concentrate in this life and appeal to God through discipline and your works in order to fill up those holes so that you can get rid of the stains of sin in this world instead of having to be purified of them in the next as you ascend towards heaven, if that's your destination.
Okay. I never really thought of it, so I don't have anything to say. Was it MLK a Marxist? Yeah. They all were. They're all Marxists. Don't get me started. Speaking of religion, for the last 2 years, I've been reading the Bible every night and recently reached the end of it. Good for you. I got to say, I've never read the New Testament. You ever just like all of a sudden you realize something? I've read the Old Testament many times, but I've never read the New Testament. So that's something I gotta fix. Like I'm familiar with it. I've looked up stuff, but I've never just read the New Testament through and through. I read the book of Revelations because that's all monsters and cool stuff, but I've never read the New Testament. I got to pick it. I got to read it. John, pick your poison. Dean Martin. I'm not even going to say the other name. Dean Martin. The other guy doesn't even exist. I like Bob Dylan's songs and melodies, but his voice is chalk, is nails on a chalkboard. I think Bob Dylan's a good writer. But Dean Martin could sing the phone book. Yeah, I'm a Rat Packer, full on Rat Pack. Scripture, is there a point of reference so that when you think you hear the spirit from a supposed priest or prophet, then you can better discern that you're not being delusional or being deceived? It's funny that you said that. My wife and I were talking about this today. But RJ, you want to say something? I know I talk too much.
No, I think you're right, Stephen. That's you got it.
A guy at work was talking. My wife seems to be like the Ann Landers at work, and now that they know that she's religious, a couple of people that like don't talk about religion, they'll seek out my wife and talk religion. And one of them saying that his son was I think it was his son looking for a job, and he goes, "I think God's telling me not to take that job. That something better is coming along." And when my wife I said, that's not God. God wouldn't tell you to take a job. God wouldn't say, don't take that job. God would say, take that job. But when the next job comes, you can always quit and take the job because Lord loves work. So that's Satan telling you don't take that job. You know what I mean? But how do you know? How do you know? I was joking around, but like.
Well, I think you got to hit the nail on the head there, John.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Like is it God? Is it common sense? But like, what is the better advice? Take the job. You got to pay your bills. Get some experience. And when the better job comes along, God doesn't say sit around and play Xbox all day waiting for an opportunity. Yeah, the next job will parachute in through your window. No, take the job. You don't know what you're going to encounter on your way to work, what experience you're going to get. So, I think that's a perfect example of the devil telling them something. But like, but what do they say? The false prophet is easy. I don't know this. I know this is an exact Bible quote that I'm going to mess up. Indulgences are based. See, I don't know enough of each particular thing, and what it is in it of Marcus. I know Marcus Aurelius is really popular right now, and I got a coworker that's really into Stoicism, but he's into like pop Stoicism. You know, when I was talking about Marcus Aurelius, he knows the name, but we were talking about like the actual philosophers. You know, but I don't want to hurt the guy's feelings. You know, everybody's got to start somewhere. In Universe 3, RJ is Presbyterian. Yeah, on Counter Earth. That's the RJ with the goatee. When it comes to Bob Dylan knocking on heaven door, I prefer the Guns N' Roses. Yes, so do I. And I don't even like Guns N' Roses. All right, we're almost up the end. One could argue from sufficiency of Scripture to, oh, geez, that was difficult for me to say. Timothy 3:16. I always have difficulty saying all these Scripture things. It's kind of like when cops quote regulations. Timothy 3:16, 17, and then argue we do not know of anything else that is inspired the same way, which I think Catholics. I don't quite understand, Zach Term. RJ, do you understand?
I understand, but don't completely agree. It is inspired and inspired in a specific way. But again, you have quotes from the New Testament of act according to what you have heard, and you know what is written and what is word of mouth. So you know that's why we go with tradition as well as Scripture for Catholicism.
It's funny because my wife is not Roman Catholic. She's some non-denominational, and I wanted to just make sure she wasn't joining a cult. And it seems like the people that her church group is a good, decent, good group of people. I like how happy they make her. So kudos on that. But I said I'm not, you know, I not to offend anybody, but I don't know what I'm doing with my religion yet. I'm on a pathway. And just today, I actually was listening to a science fiction lecture that explained a problem that I had with religion for a long time. It's funny that it came from a science fiction video on YouTube. But anyway, if I do go back, it's good to go back to Roman Catholic Church. And I like a couple of my friends, a couple of my close friends, they think the Roman Catholics are, you know, lost their way. They, you know, the Pope is the devil or whatever. But I like the slowness and the bureaucracy of it, because the Roman Catholic Church isn't going to surrender to the newest political whim of the time. We're not going to have, you're not going to go into any Roman Catholic church and see a transgender flag. You know, it's slow moving, and you know what I mean? And it's slow moving, so it's not going to change to the whims and then be embarrassed and have to course correct. Does that make sense, RJ?
That makes sense. There's a lot of error in the church right now, but again,
right.
It's what is it? The quote goes, "It's a hospital for sinners, not a museum for saints." So you know, but the error will not be sufficient to destroy it.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like I do, you know, I get frustrated with the American Congress by not doing things fast enough. But then when I calm down, I realize it's better to be slow than to fast and just react to everything, and then we find out you know what I mean. So that's the way I look at the Roman Catholic Church. Is we have this big institution, and we're not going to all of a sudden just change it overnight. And so really, only the changes that'll matter are the changes that'll happen, if that makes sense. But if I do go back to church, there's literally like 5 minutes away from me, there's a Latin mass. That's what I'm going to go to. I'm going old school. I'm going to a Latin mass. And I say argue in the sense of logic. Yeah, good sense of argument. I love good argument. Bad argument is just people screaming at each other, repeating the same phrase over and over again. No, you did. No, you did. No, you did. Because you got a pea brain. Presbyterian RJ has a massive John Calvin beard. I don't know. I don't know what RJ looks like, nor do I want to know what he looks like. It'll only be a disappointment. The only thing that burns in hell is the part of you that won't let go of your life, your memories, your attachments. They burn in. Tony Griego, who are you quoting? Who is this? Is this Marcus Aurelius? I like this. How many freaking comic book chats have Marcus Aurelius quotes in their chat? Oh, it's Mr. Eichart. Okay. RJ, this is Sequential Treasures. I like your avatar. Pretty cool. Pretty cool name. RJ, do you think the attacks on Western culture through entertainment meant to alter and demoralize are the new battlefield of those who couldn't beat it in the actual battlefields of the past?
Sequential Treasures, just to let you know, this is basically what I'm planning to do my Saturday video on. So just tune in and you'll hear a much better explanation of that on Saturday.
And Sequential Treasures is really RJ's wife, who's just setting him up with the volleyball. Thank you, Mrs. RJ. No, this is a great this is a whole topic in of itself. Do you think that went to alter it tomorrow? I do. I've been saying it for a long time. I think I at first I thought it was just we don't like white people, and at first I thought it was we don't like America. Then I thought it was we don't like white people, and then I come to we just don't like Western civilization. Whoever the we are, the Satanists, the UEF, whoever the bad guy is, the Rothschilds, whatever, the Illuminati, because Western civilization believes in individual rights, in individual freedom, and inalienable rights, and that's what's under attack. That's why we're bringing in these Mandanis and these Somalians, not because they're black excellent, because they have no concept of the people are in charge, not the government. These people come in and they just think that overregulation, government control, we don't like that. We're going to use the power of the government. We're all corrupt. Everybody's corrupt. Corruption is the way of life. Look at Africa. Look at India. It's all freaking corrupt. So these people are coming in and they just assume the government's corrupt. Look at all of these fake child services, billions of dollars. That's what the government does. They open up a bank in Africa. Next thing you know, the government steals all the money, and everybody. That's just the way these people think. I'm sorry. Yes, I said these people, non-Western civilization people. And that's what they're trying to bring in. So the government can have total power. That's what's under attack. And comic books taught traditional heroism, so they had to go. They had to be destroyed. They had to be eroded and subverted. Not sure if that was the quote John was thinking about. I already forgot because my brain is, like I said, from what I hear, don't go to the German Catholic Church. Why? What's is this a joke? I don't get it. Weird things are happening in Germany.
Yeah, weird things are happening in Germany.
What's going on? Is like transgender nonsense or
no? It's there's a whole lot of nonsense like that. Just because of basically, so the church in Germany, like the actual church is not allowed to pay. How does it work? So. The government pays the priests in Germany, basically. And so basically what would happen in a normal part of the world is that if you don't get enough in the collection plate, then that parish is going to close down. But since they get paid by the church and not through the collection, I think, if I remember correctly, goes to the government, and the government then pays out the money to the priests, even if they're Catholic. And so you got all these priests who are in parishes where it should have closed down long and ever ago, got nothing to do. And so they start, the heresy is just run rampant within the German parts of the church.
This is the first I'm hearing about it. But once the government's paying you, you're beholden to the government.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to start a comic book club. So let's start a comic book club. Okay, me and RJ start a comic book club, but we're going to take government subsidized money. Now I got to open it up to all these government rules. That's just a no-brainer. So what are you doing? This is the first I'm hearing about it. That's the whole reason why Vatican City was supposed to be independent, so it couldn't be influenced by the Italian government or the German government or the King of France. That's why Washington D.C. is not in any state. Once you accept $1 of government money, scientists. You think scientists can't be bribed, and now we're finding out that priests can be bribed. And lo and behold, it's the history of the church. The priests were getting bribed. Told the story on Earth. If RJ is not a humanoid shield, I will be disappointed. Yeah. when he comes, it's going to be like Medusa. I won't look at his face. I see RJ is a slightly younger version of Wilford Brimley. So do I. That's funny that you said that. So do I. He lives in a log cabin as a bear, and he doesn't want to get the diabetes. Yeah. Wilford Brimley from Cocoon is the way.
I'm Wilford Brimley from The Thing. How's that?
my favorite line from The Thing is when they got Wilford Brimley in the shed, and Kurt Russell goes to open the door, and Wilford Brimley goes, I want to come in now. I'll be good. Demoralization is the main objective of cultural vandals. Yes, absolutely. Yes. The anti-West has united against the West, even though many of them would off each other if they were in the same room too long. Right. And then what do you get? All these people that say that whiteness is white supremacy and whiteness is what's going to happen when whiteness is gone? Politeness is gone. Being on time, innovation, individual rights, freedom of speech. What's going to happen? It's going to become Haiti, and even Hades don't like Haiti. You know what I mean? So what is your end game? What is these people are so freaking stupid that everything good, everything that creates civilization is white supremacy. So basically, everything that builds civilization is white supremacy. So slop and garbage. That's your end game. You know what I mean? Anytime I hear anybody say white supremacy, man, my eyes roll out of my head. It's the stupidest thing in the world. When it comes to anti-Westerners, it's politics of envy, hating someone for being more right.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say, Rex. It's I'm in misery. I'm going to drag everybody down with me. You're absolutely right.
Well, it's the zero-sum loss. It's socialism. America is successful because they took from us. Yeah, how many trillions of dollars did we give back to Africa? As opposed to what we took. You know what I mean? And look at the Rosetta Stone. They found the Rosetta Stone like just left. People were stepping over it. It wasn't until the French found out what it was, or the English found out what it was, and now Egypt wants it back. It's like, dude, this was garbage. Look at all of these artifacts that France and England went to these countries and dug them out of the ground. They didn't know they existed, and now you plundered our country. You didn't know it was there. You didn't know it was there. You had no understanding, and now you find out it's valuable. You throw something in the trash, and then your friend takes that computer out of the trash and builds a computer. You're like, I want it back. No, you threw it away. That's archaeology. The U.S. internet's caught between bemoaning that they were born too late for the wars they romanticize. I think that's human nature. Everybody thinks they were born in the wrong time. Everybody, Strange days are upon. Yeah, I do fear for the future. I'm no joke. I do think things are going to get better. Like a drunk has to hit rock bottom, because right now, the average American isn't going to fight because it's still not that bad. I complain a lot, but I got a room full of comic books. I could get a chicken sandwich for 95 cents. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that bad. I still make decent money. I'm not going to give all that up. It's not that bad yet. Things have to get worse before they get better. And it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary to think like that. True enough, Steven Silhouette. Don't encourage him. He only wants to punch the public eye. Poor public eye never hurt nobody. I think it's a holdover of Holy Roman Empire that funded the domination of each principality. They did? I didn't know that. It goes back to Cain and Abel. Cain's hatred for Abel for winning God's favor. Cain didn't get it because he thought he knew better. Yep. It's jealousy. Jealousy could explain so much. Envy. Socialism is all envy. That seize the means of production. Comes back to that line. Seize the means. Like, you got to examine that. What they're saying. Seize the means. Take it. Take other people's stuff. Take other people's stuff. Don't create stuff. If Karl Marx was this genius, he would say, like, hey, let's create the means of production, and then we could all share it. No, it's take it from somebody else. That's the bottom line of socialism. Globalists don't think they're very far ahead or will move to a different city of things. Yeah, they're going to be protected. They're going to be protected. I mean, look at England. Look at the police in England. Some guy in England went to a music festival, and an immigrant urinated all over him and his family. They went to the police. The police said, "Oh, there's nothing we can do. That's not technically illegal." So he's like, so immigrants can pee on white people, but if the white people defend themselves, they go to jail. And the police are like, yeah. You going to tell me the system is working exactly the way it's designed to demoralize the indigenous population and replace them? England is an Orwellian nightmare right now. But it's not bad enough for the average English person to lose everything and fight. The peasants didn't have much, so what little was gone, they fought. But the average person is trapped by their TVs, their comfort, their refrigerators. You know what I mean? Their 401ks. They're not going to give all of that up because 250,000 girls got raped. They don't know anybody personally. I'm so disappointed in England, and we're not too far away. Do you see the European Union existing in the next 20 years? Yeah, unless we do drastic.
I don't think it will. I mean, I think something drastic is coming. It's again, Europe is a powder keg waiting to explode, and this is, the way it was last century as well.
Yeah, I don't know, and that's why they want all these flock cameras and electronic. Because look at the way they shut down the truckers in Canada. Cash. We got to have cash. We got to have a gold currency. We got to have, that's why they don't like Bitcoin. I believe that traditional Christianity is best represented by the Orthodox Church. Do you agree?
No,
Tony,
you're
you're Orthodox?
Catholic for a reason, Tony, but Orthodoxy, the way the Catholics view Orthodox Church is the fact that they're valid, but not illicit. So there's that slight distinction.
I've come to the conclusion, I probably disagree with RJ here, but like, if you're Christians, we all got to drop our subtle differences and realize that the enemy is Islam, guys. So you don't want to kneel in church. You believe you get transubstantiated in your belly. You whatever. You think bishops should wear blue hats instead of green hats. It's all nonsense in the grand scheme of things. We all basically believe the same stuff. We got to unite in hands and fight the real problem. The worshippers of Baphomet. Yes, people claim that archaeology is stealing from native culture. The culture of but it was, we didn't take it out of museums. Where did we take these things from? From dirt holes in the ground that we dug up. They didn't know they were there, and now they want them back. I think the EU will either become more decentralized or more centralized. I doubt it'll stay the same. I don't. Dang, Americans still have 95-cent chicken sandwiches. I'm seething with jealousy. Where are you, unicorn? Yeah, there's the 99-cent menu over at Burger King. I could get like a double cheese. Oh, now I'm getting hungry. I shouldn't say things like this. You envy what someone has? Yes. It's funny because I'm usually the person that corrects people between envy and jealousy, but I didn't want to be the actually guy, even though I pretty much am. I believe we're in the midst of a second American Revolution that is rippling worldwide, which will culminate in punching in the face. You had me. Hook, line, and sinker. You rat bastard. Somebody ban him. The ultimate means of production is the human mind, which, right? Good point, Zach Tan. Yeah. Good point. Sequential treasures. Hi, Mrs. RJ. Anti-Westerners never learned the lesson of the Frankenstein. They create the monster thinking it will only serve them, but it turns them, just like the Democratic. Oh my God, yeah. Talk about buyer's remorse. The Democrats allied themselves with the Islamists and the socialists, and now they're taking over. And you better believe that they're going to get rid of the hardline regular Jimmy Palmiotti's. Jimmy Palmiotti, man, you got to wake up. Even as much as I detest this guy, even Bill Maher is starting to wake up. The Democrat Party and these new socialists, they don't care about the Constitution. They care about power. If the right was as bad as they say it was, there would be no left right now. The right is too tolerant. RJ, read Maltese Falcon recently. Might have found it mildly entertaining, but after listening to your critique, I found the idea of a male loyalty made the reading so much richer. Oh, okay.
Thanks, Tony.
I thought that was Tony Grigo. There's two Tonys. Some public people have punchable faces, though I advocate restraint. Okay, look at Switzerland. Okay, now you got me. You got me once. I'm going to read your whole comment in my mind before I read them out loud. So you didn't get me on this one. He who fights with monsters, you see to it the public process does not become a monster. As if you gaze long enough into the public eye will gaze back at you. That sounds like something he would actually say. I do agree with that. Bait is good, but there are times when solidarity for certain many. Yeah, the Protestants, the Catholics, the Orthodox, the non-denominationals, for the most. And then there's like the redheaded stepchildren, the Mormons, who I'm not sure. I know some Mormons will get mad at me, but they have a fundamental different viewpoint of Jesus. And if Jesus isn't a Trinity, then that's not the same Jesus. So in a way, it's not the same religion, if that makes sense. And I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. Like Islam, Allah is not God. It's not, Allah came from a moon god. Yahweh came from a storm god. Christians believe that Yahweh God is the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Muslims don't believe it. It's not the same God. So it's different everything.
I think we're going to have to leave it there before the chat. Leave Zach Dan with the final word, and I'm going to have to rename my my thumbnail for this stream is just John and I answering chat questions. Somehow I'm gonna make it work though.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry if we go off the rail, but we have such an interesting chat.
Yeah, this is a good chat. Thank you very much, chat, for all of this.
Are you enjoying it, RJ?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm about halfway through Starship Troopers. Great book. Recommend it. Read the book. It's completely different than the movie, and I still love the movie. But RJ's got to go. I got to go. I didn't realize how late it was. I didn't even eat my dinner yet. I got to go to bed. So if I will throw this link out there. Remember, you can still get Crom the Destroyer. RJ's on the verge of finishing it up there. You can back it on Fund My Comic. I've been seeing it looks great. It absolutely looks great. So check that out. And I could use your support too over here on the Christmas special. Bill is making the digital version of it right now. And then we're doing the layout for. We got to just contact the printer, see if they changed from Comics Wellspring, and we're ready to print. I'm toying with the idea of sending out the digital editions as soon as I get them. Get some positive word of mouth. So we'll see. So, anything you want to say, RJ?
No, John, you gave both links, and like you said, go on over to Fund My Comic and look for some good comics.
Yeah, there's a lot of good comics there, guys. It really is. Fund My Comic it's got so many. Peruse through it and check it out. There's so much good stuff. Kickstarter, if you want to look at drawn boobies, that's where you go. You want to look at good comics, go to Fund My Comic. All right? And at this point, we'll say goodbye, kids.
See y'all later.
Goodbye, kids.